Allies, enemies, and those yet unaligned, howdy and welcome to another episode of Meta More Than You Bargained For. I am your humble host, Lynn Lawless. On this show, we read stories from across the internet and give our rather questionable advice. The twist is everything is going to be revolving around non-monogamy in some sort of way. My limited perspective will be offset by the wide variety of guests I get to feature. Today on the mic, you know her, you love her. She is the DM that loves to make people scream. It's Sloane. Sloane, take the mic away from me.
Hi, I'm a weird middle-aged trans person. I've been some flavor of polyamorous for about a decade now. I've got a nesting partner and at least one other partner, depending on how you count. Lynn, you know I invented a fictional world to avoid talking about myself in real life?
Well, then, without further ado, let's jump right in.
Meta.
All right. Welcome, everybody. For our first story today, we are going to the polyamorous subreddit right away. This one is it weird or overstepping to ask a meta you don't get along with well about your partner? So, don't get along with well about your partner. What a I'm so prepared for all these convoluted Reddit titles. Right.
Yeah.
So, this one unfortunately has been deleted by the poster, but I copied it beforehand, so neat. For context, I have been dating this guy for about 4 months, and we usually text daily. Sometimes there's a one-day gap because life happens, but it's never a several-day break. He hasn't been online on any socials in 2 days now, which is super weird for him. Even if we don't text, I see him being online or sharing snaps, but it's been radio silence, and I'm kind of worried. I know he went to a music festival, and the last thing he posted was a snap of him putting up his tent on Friday. The festival ended this morning, and time-wise, he should have long been home. Maybe he just lost his phone and there's nothing, but I was still worried, so I texted my meta with a, hey, sorry to bother you. Do you know if partner is fine? He hasn't been online since Friday, and I'm kind of worried. Have a nice weekend. Thanks. Smiley face. I got an angry, I don't know where he is. He's probably fine. Chill. He doesn't have to text you 24/7. Which is fair. I get it. He doesn't have to text me 24/7, and I wouldn't worry if it was a few hours or a day or something. I know he doesn't like to spend his time with friends on his phone. It's just super weird to me that he doesn't even send his usual good morning or good night texts, and he literally snapped the entire day up to a certain point and then went fully offline everywhere. Now I'm a little worried because the meta and my partner temporarily live together, and my partner obviously isn't home yet, which is super weird because the festival ended 7 hours ago, and it takes him maybe 20 minutes to get home. Edit number 1, my meta has requested to have my phone number. I didn't particularly need theirs because they acted rude in the past, but they insisted on having mine in case of emergency. Edit 2, apparently my gut feeling was right again because my meta just texted me that our partner had a huge allergic reaction and had to go to the hospital by ambulance. My gut feeling in those things is always right, and I knew something was up because I usually don't get this anxious over someone not replying. Our partner is fine now, but it was pretty scary. Sloane, I'm going to let you kick this off with your thoughts on it.
Oh, Christ, I have thoughts. Okay, so on the one hand, I'm not a music festival person, but as someone who occasionally goes camping, if I had gone camping for a weekend and had gotten home, let's say by what was the number, 7 hours ago, I would be asleep. My phone would be off. I would be asleep. Camping it's fun, but it's also exhausting and horrible on your body. So
it's one of those things where the festival may have ended 7 hours ago, but it takes an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, to pack up your camp. Then you load it into your car, then you drive home, then you have to unload your car. Or if you're just that tired, you probably go crash out. So either way, this person has had a whole ass day, and I feel like 7 hours after the festival ended is hawkish.
Yeah, that is nothing. On the other hand, it literally costs you nothing not to be snappish and dickish to your meta. If someone is oh, hey, I'm worried, I'm a fully parallel poly person. I don't hang out with my metas really ever, and I don't chat with them or whatever. But if I get, hey, I'm concerned, there's something going on, I don't know, it feels uncalled for. at least with the
Yeah,
context we were given.
yeah, because, like, the part that stuck out to me about the Meta's text was he doesn't have to text you 24/7. That kind of sounds like she's feeling a little bit of resentment or something like that, like, already the partner's communicating too much, you know? Like, when partners start to live together, they get really aware of how much everybody's talking to their other partners.
Yeah, and you
So,
combine that with
a
that
little
earlier
sore.
line about like, he usually texts me every day. And it's like if she's living with this mutual partner and he's like, texting constantly, that's a lot. That is frankly annoying.
Especially if he has his ringtone on.
Yeah.
I would throttle someone if they had their ringtone on and was texting constantly, but I'm just that autistic.
Oh yeah, no, they would like straight out the window. I live on the 6th floor. No regrets. So like and then, the other side of that is that like the meta in this did actually text the poster when something important happened. It's weird because the poster's kind of doing a little victory lap here. And it's like, oh, I was right. Well, it's like, your meta also fucking texted you when there was something worth knowing about. So maybe like chill a little bit.
Yeah, having that trust in your meta for them to contact you if something's gone awry, it can be hard sometimes. It almost feels like sometimes people will use your shared partner being in a vulnerable situation to get that extra leverage or that extra like bonding moment, and kind of holding on to it. So I understand why she wouldn't immediately trust that this partner or this metamor would text her, right out of the gate if something happened. But at the same time, like she was so nice about it. She was like, been online since Friday and ended it with like, have a nice weekend, just not trying to be a wang about it, clearly.
Yeah, totally.
And you'd think that metamors working together would be like, I don't know, very base level and like working together in like emergency situations.
Like, look, I don't hang out with my metamors. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, want to go get a drink? But, like, in an emergency situation, I fully trust them because otherwise, that's a problem.
So in the comments, let's see, it's Satin's little princess, not Satan's little princess, Satin's little princess, says, folks are likely right that your partner is fine. There's an explanation that will be fine. The text you sent is pretty consistent with the sort of text I would send anyone who's a partner, friend, housemate, whatever, that I was expecting to hear from and didn't. Your meta was rude to respond to you in the way they did, and it sounds like they're having some feelings about the open relationship and partner's connection to you. It's also possible they're worried that your text reminded them that maybe there is some reason for their concern. And that's the part I was thinking about. Like maybe the other partner was just kind of like lottie-dying their way through their weekend. And then this part, or OP reaching out to the metamor, made them realize, oh shit, I haven't heard from Hinge partner in a certain amount of time, and like kind of got a little defensive. Like, oh, I know what's going on with my partner too. Like, psh, psh, psh.
I could honestly see that. I have like my own little theory, which is that the vibe I get from this is like, I genuinely wonder if our poster isn't much younger than these other two people.
Ooh.
Because like I very much get this is a 35-year-old being like, oh my god, my 22-year-old meta is texting me. Just me.
Yeah, no, that would also make sense. Like, older people always want to say younger people are on their phones too much, text too much, whatever. It maybe is one of those like, oh my god, he doesn't have to keep up with you all the time, kid. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know that like the relationship I have with my phone is pretty different from the relationship that like younger people in my community have with theirs, and like to me this just reads kind of like age gap behavior, but like that is a big assumption to make about everyone involved here. It's just my like little tinfoil hat.
Yeah, and like also thinking about it your way as you get older, like a lot of people hopefully go to therapy and get a little bit better about managing their anxiety and like the levels to which they are, anxiously reaching out to other people. So like if this person is younger, they probably haven't like worked on that stuff yet.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move us on to our second story once again from the polyamory subreddit. Let's see if this one has been deleted since. It has not. It is from the user Miniwee4. What's up, Reddit? Once again crying on my sofa because I'm overwhelmed. Sparkle emoji. I guess I need to know that I am not alone, and I'm curious what other people think about my situation. I've been polyamorous for more than a year now. I have a partner, Blue, who we have been together officially since March. Blue and I have a lot of fun together. I love them very much, but I know that the love we have for each other is not the same. And they know it too. I have told them that I wish to see them once or twice a week. We have very different energy levels, and theirs is way higher than mine. I can't spend too much time with them because I run out of energy and have to recharge. And I feel bad about that. I feel like I'm hurting them by not wanting to spend more time with them. We're just different in that way. And every time we see each other, they make a comment like, this date went too fast, or I wish we could spend more time together. And that makes me uncomfortable. I've spoken about it, and their answer was that they will always want more time with me. So that's that. In April, I met Orange, and we have been official for 2 or 3 months. Orange and I pretty much share the same temperament. I recharge with them and I feel peaceful. We have been spending a lot of time together because we work in the same establishment and live in the same neighborhood. They too would spend all of their time with me, and I feel guilty that I'm more willing to spend time with Orange than Blue. I feel like I'm letting down Blue and that I'm toxic. I've been struggling to find time with my friends and spending time alone, which I love. I also work 40 hours a week. I'm overwhelmed by my social life and life in general. I feel like I can hardly breathe. And the more I'm stressed about that, the more I spiral into anxiety and depression because life doesn't seem satisfying anymore. Anyway, thank you for your time. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
I feel this one in my bones, though.
Oh, hard same.
Like, I am a fairly low energy person and a long recharge person, hence me living alone.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you hear a puppy in the background, you're welcome. He's 12 weeks old, he's adorable, and he's a menace. I'm hoping he will fall asleep.
Do you want to kick this one off? I'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, so I really feel like it needs to be more openly okay to say that you have different energy levels than people, and to kind of like, I feel like something OP maybe could be doing better is like letting their partner know, like, hey, I'm starting to run out of energy. I probably have like 45 minutes left in me. Is there anything you would like to do before I have to go? I have a lot of friendships that are more energy than I like to expend, and I have found that I sometimes weed out people who I will never align with by being honest about my energy levels and my energy needs. Like, some people have been like, well, I want to see you more than like 2 hours once a month, and I say that's too bad, and we don't be friends anymore.
Absolutely. I personally find that high energy people can be exhausting, and by can be, I mean are. And I also find that, like, it's hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes that has a completely different way of interacting with the world than you do. I have friends who, they want to go out and they want to have, game night tonight and go see a movie tomorrow and then go to a bar over the weekend and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, I will do one of those things with you. And then I am sitting on my couch under a blanket and several cats, and I'm watching like a slutty vampire TV show, and that's what I got.
I love that, though, because it lets the people that you're potentially hanging out with have the choice of like which event they most want you to be at. And also, you could be like, hey, at this thing I could spend maybe 2 hours, but at this thing I could hang out with you all day. So like you can add more data to people's choices.
Yeah, you can absolutely, negotiate what thing you want to do. That gets harder in a romantic relationship.
Yeah, feelies.
I do want to touch on one thing in this that really, really like set me off, which is a lot of people think that like it's cute to say like, I'll always want more time with you. And like if you're both down for that, then fine, whatever. But in this case, it was like, I set a boundary and my partner said, lol, nope. I feel toxic now. And like, fuck that.
Yeah, like the minor emotional manipulation that goes along with that phrase and that sentence.
Yeah.
And that sentiment.
Yeah, it's a like minor emotional manipulation. It's like, it's literally, no, you don't get to set that boundary. There's nothing minor about that shit.
Oh, that's fair. I'm trying to be too nice. You are correct. Thank you for pointing out that, nah, I'm being too nice.
I don't know. That like, just, I've had partners do that to me, and try to, especially in this kind of a situation. And like, it's, it's manipulator behavior. It's shitty. Don't do it.
I mean, I will admit, I definitely have said that to people in the past, but that was like immature of me. It feels very like it was very immature of me at the time, you know,
Yeah.
because it was at a time where I didn't have like a full-time job that I had to work on or therapy to do, you know, or all these other things that I have to do now where I could just flop with someone on the couch and watch Dragon Ball Z for 24 hours straight, you know?
100%.
We wouldn't get through one battle, but it'd be a great time.
You get through the charge up phase.
Yeah, and like I definitely have different energy level partners and I've had very different energy level partners.
Oh, same.
And it's been very eye-opening to me as a friend to kind of gain a viewpoint for people's energy levels and how well we're going to mesh because I'm demisexual. So like, you know,
Yeah.
hitting them with the hey, I can only hang out for an hour and a half when you're still just friends is easier, and then you build that into the relationship like from the get-go.
The other thing, like, so there are two other things I wanted to touch on that like stood out to me. One of which is very quick and simple, and it has to do with the relationship with Orange, which is this: don't fuck your coworkers.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that.
Oh my god.
But that's not what the post is about. But also just don't.
I mean, with the whole don't fuck your coworkers thing, not only could it be a mess if y'all break up, it could also be a mess if y'all stay together and y'all are caught with inappropriate behavior that hasn't been discussed with HR.
Yep. The other thing is, so I have a hard and fast rule in dating, which is one power dynamic per relationship, and like workplaces have a lot of power dynamics.
And like thinking of the future too, because you may start out like, oh, we're working the same level. We're both just in a call center and our eyes met across the call center as we asked a man about his hemorrhoid cream. And then one of you gets promoted and suddenly it's a different power dynamic.
Yep. Everyone thinks they will be fine and they will be able to compensate for that. And that is, in my experience, lies. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up is that the other thing that this deal with Blue could be is just that, you know, Blue wants to ride the relationship escalator and you don't. Because, like, a lot of people think, like, you know, oh, we spend 1 day a week together. And then in a few months, we spend 2 days a week together. And then a few months after that, we're doing, you know, every weekend. And then after that, we move in together. For a lot of people, that is the blueprint of a relationship. And, you know, I find it's helpful if I am not gonna be on that path with someone to, like, very early on, just be like, you know, hey, here is the most I can offer, barring a dramatic change in my life circumstances. If this is the point we get to, we cool?
Yeah. Something that I'm reading in the comments, it's a really long comment thread, so I'm not going to waste everybody's time by reading all the different parts, but it suggests that the OP start working kind of on their what seems to be a bit of anxiety around, you know, like letting their partners down and like avoiding, you know, some conversations potentially as an anxiety response. And because of that anxiety, maybe their internal boundaries are feeling a bit more porous, a bit more flexible, and having a bit more of a secure relationship attachment style could be very helpful in like not feeling like a bad person just because the person you're dating isn't super happy with you while you're meeting your own needs.
Unfortunately for the OP, I don't think either of us is really qualified to give advice on being a people pleaser.
Hey, I'm recovering.
Same. I'm trying. But like, I really do get that. I get worked up in knots with that fear of like disappointing a partner sometimes. Then my partner will just be like, no, it's fine. Or my partner will like lean into that. And then 24 hours later, I'll be like, hey, they were being a piece of shit.
Oh, if the 24 hours realization, it doesn't just go for, oh, I think they were flirting with me.
No. I kind of think the main takeaway for me on this one, last thing I want to say is just protect your fucking boundaries. You know, you know what your boundaries are. It sounds like you have a very good idea of what you're capable of. And, you know, it is perfectly okay to just be like, this is who I am. This is where I am. Deal.
Having and communicating boundaries does not make you a bad person.
No, especially does not make you toxic.
Yeah, no. So, before we go to a really quick break, I would like for my lovely co-host Sloane to read a story that she brought and give my little voice a breast.
Okay. So this one is titled Polycule COVID Woes. All right. Went on a 10-day trip with my partner Aspen. Wait, quick aside, what the fuck is with everybody on the polyamory subreddits like pseudonyming their partners after trees? Okay, aside over.
I think it's like trees and colors and stuff like that. It seems like they use like little themes within the post.
I've seen a lot of trees, and it just makes me assume that everyone involved is a non-binary trans mask.
Okay, Cedar disagrees with you.
Went on a 10-day trip with my partner Aspen, and immediately upon my return, my NP Birch and my Meta, who were also on a trip of their own, come down with COVID. In the past, I haven't been too concerned about getting COVID because I work in an environment where I'm in contact with 1,500 plus people daily, and exposure is sort of inevitable. However, Aspen has had COVID a handful of times, plus some other health stuff, and is getting really terrified of getting it again. So for their health and my own, I tell NP Birch that I'm going to stay out of the house while they're symptomatic and contagious and go to a family member's house. Birch, understandably, is super sad. Plus, we had to cancel a camping trip of our own. And meanwhile, I haven't had to cancel any other plans. I've been really strict about not seeing Birch inside and being very distanced when we do, but it has been most of the month of not seeing one another. I know they feel on some level that I'm, quote, choosing Aspen by being more cautious this time and wanting to wait to be in the house with them again until they test negative, which could be a bit. I just feel bad and conflicted, and I'm also trying to protect my own health.
Oh boy. Oh, there's a lot of feelings about a lot of people in this one. Like, if this was an Am I the Asshole, I'd feel like everyone kind of sucks. Everyone kind of sucks just a little bit.
Yeah. Everyone involved is trash. Okay, so first of all, like, literally, like, the first note I just have is your nesting partner sucks. That was just the first thing I wrote down in response to this.
Okay, so why does Birch suck? I like this. Let's dig in on that.
I mean, ultimately, like, I'm going to throw some shade on our OP in a little bit, but, like, ultimately, this is a person who is responding to a genuine health concern for someone else that they care for, and, like, guilt-tripping someone over protecting their health or a partner with disabilities for prioritizing that is shit. That is a bad thing to do. Stop it.
Yeah, I think that Birch also a little bit sucks. Definitely on the angle that you're talking about, but I was thinking of another aspect of it, and it's just, I don't know, I feel like Birch and Meta could have tested sooner, like testing right when OP is back.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, like, OP probably walked in the door, said hi, yada yada. Maybe someone was being like, when did they test? Why did they test?
Yeah.
I feel like it was kind of sus. Like, they kind of wanted, it seems like Birch and the Meta kind of wanted OP to, like, take care of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or at least take the hit with them.
Yeah.
And, like, that is just fucking wild to me. Then my other question, like, my big question here is, what the fuck is a COVID cautious person doing with this dude who's like, I never gave a fuck about COVID before? Because, like, that, I don't know. Like, I'm sure our poster is great, but, like, if we're talking about, potentially life-altering consequences, we're probably not that great. You can just date someone who cares.
Yeah, like, if I was concerned about catching COVID, I definitely wouldn't be dating someone who sees exposure as an inevitability.
Yeah.
One of my partners works at a very, very busy grocery store, and still to this day, 2024, is masking because they want to reduce their risk and reduce, also, our health system sucks. They only have so many sick days a year. If they got COVID, they'd be SOL.
Yep.
So, like, it's not inevitable unless you don't care.
Yeah, it's not inevitable unless you treat it like it's inevitable. So, like, okay, so the reason I chose this one is it really hits home for me because I am dating a person whose health is compromised. They have, like, some serious heart complications. And, like, if they get COVID, there is, like, a, there's like a 1 in X chance that, like, that just punches their fucking ticket. And so, I had to, when I started getting involved with this person, I was already being COVID cautious as much as I can because, frankly, there are a lot of immunocompromised people out in the world, and I don't want to be making their lives harder.
And there's more immunocompromised people every single day.
Absolutely. Because of COVID. I also don't want to become one of them. I have enough shit going on. So I had to, like, start reevaluating some things, and it kind of sounds like the OP here is maybe doing a little bit of that, but I don't know. There's something off about it that kind of goes back to, frankly, the easiest solution to all of this in my mind is that Aspen should probably date people who care more about their health.
This person's other posts on their profile are are all kind of also interesting.
Yeah.
Like they have one that's kitchen table advice needed, which oof, there are so many plant names in this one. They got a whole greenhouse.
Yeah, I read another one of this person's posts, their most recent one, that was like,
Yeah.
there's too much change all at once, and it does include like some complaining about one of their partner's like health issues. Um
In
and
the other post, they change Birch's name to Ash, and they give someone else the name Birch, and I'm like, wait, I'm trying to follow your story. Don't do this.
I know. Like I do wonder a little bit if they're like trying to obfuscate.
Oh, so hard to tell.
Yeah. Okay, so there's this other thing that kind of struck me about this, and that is some of my experiences dating as a disabled ish person. Or, like, I use a mobility aid like a fair fraction of the time. And when I'm dating someone who has a fully functional meat suit, the first like 3 to 6 months, they're on top of it. They're like, I want to take care of you. I want to make sure, this is done. I'm gonna, be just as mad as you are if a place doesn't have an elevator or has really narrow corridors or is standing room only, even though, your fucking legs are killing you.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get past the point in a relationship where, like, that is giving them those, like, knight in shining armor good vibes. And suddenly it becomes an inconvenience. It becomes something to complain about, something to, neg me about. And, like, I kind of feel like, based on the timeline this guy's giving, school hasn't started back up yet. So he can be super COVID cautious, whatever, as much as he wants. I do wonder how he's going to feel about all of this when it actually gets hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna follow this guy's page on the low key.
Oh, 100%.
We might. Hey fam, we're gonna farm you for content. Hope you don't mind, girlfriend. Anything else you'd like to say about this or any of the other stories? Maybe you thought of something you wanted to say about those before we take a really quick break and let some potential, sponsors, maybe get some airtime.
Get your vaccines and wear a fucking mask.
Yeah, and then you won't be coughing into the mic like me when I'm talking about sponsors.
Meta.
Any hoozles, welcome back for the break. I hope our sponsors delighted you, and if not, oopsie daisy.
I just hope we had them.
Gosh darn it, we're gonna manifest, okay? Manifest. Heck, we'll just put an ad for Swipe Right for Dragons in the meantime.
Oh, Christ. Honestly, probably.
All right, so next story. Do you see the end of a sexual relationship as setting boundaries or a breakup? This post has also been deleted. Hi, everyone. I, F35, curious about how others perceive the ending of the sexual aspect of a relationship. Specifically, I'm interested in understanding whether people generally see this as setting boundaries or as a form of breakup. In my recent experience, I was in a relationship where my lover decided to end the sexual aspect, but the intention was to remain friends. For me, this change felt like a breakup because it significantly altered the nature of our connection. However, the other person involved saw it as setting a boundary with me rather than a form of breakup. We come from different cultures and have different relationships with sex. For her, sex is less important. For me, it plays an important role in my life. I think it had an impact. How do you interpret such a situation? Do you view the end of a sexual relationship as primarily a boundary-setting measure, or do you see it as a kind of breakup? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences on this. Thank you. Edit, we are on a break right now as I figure out what I want and if friendship is what I desire. Oh God, this one's...
This one is...
I didn't just go through this.
Okay, so deferring to you here, this one is a little bit fraught.
Yeah. So me and the girlfriend with whom I have recently had to de-escalate things because she has figured out that poly is not for her. Ouchie doodles. We recently had the talk about whether I feel like I was dumped because I make a lot of dumped jokes. Like, I'm like, oh, you really should have dumped me before I dyed my hair, because she dumped me right after I dyed my hair. And I was like, what am I going to do to cope now? And I just make a bunch of stupid jokes about how she dumped me. And so we had a conversation of, did we break up or did she dump me? And, my feelings are that I was dumped. That's not entirely accurate, but it's where I feel right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say, OP in their own post answered their own question. They literally said to me, it feels like a breakup. Congrats. That's where you are.
And like figuring out your definition of that and their definition of that, like, should be part of the de-escalation conversation.
Speaking of definitions, so some of this post read kind of squirrely to me, and I kind of wonder, just because of the way they were talking about, wanted to end the sexual aspect, but didn't talk about the romantic aspect. I kind of wonder what kind of relationship this was. Because, like, there's a big difference between a person who you're friends with, close to, whatever, and have sex with, ending the sexual aspect of your relationship, and a person who you are romantically involved with, ending the sexual aspect of your relationship.
Yeah, like, are they still going to be romantically involved? Was romance ever a part of their relationship?
Yeah, and frankly, did they both agree on that?
Yeah, because, so speaking specifically about my own situation here, we have, talked about de-escalating also the romantic part of our relationship, because it's very hard for her to maintain the familiarity needed to foster multiple intimate relationships. Mm-hmm. And I get it. I can't fault her for it. Like, it's hard sometimes. I will admit, sometimes in the middle of things, I have to open my eyes and be like, wait, who am I with again? Okay, cool. I get lost in the moment. I'm not picturing anybody in particular. I'm just letting my body feel things, But I sometimes have to be like, oh, right. Yeah, that's the one. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. You've talked a little about your experience. My experience, I have a long-term partner who, like my nesting partner, who ended the sexual aspect of our relationship years ago. They were coming to terms with the fact that they're ace, and, they were like, hey, I don't actually want this part anymore, or not completely, like, I want a little bit of this once every year or two, which, that's a big change.
Do you feel like being non-monogamous made it easier for you to make that transition and get to keep this relationship?
I kind of don't want to credit it to non-monogamy, like, just because, like, I think there's a danger in being like, yeah, non-monogamy made this easier or better or whatever, in that, you see a lot of people who want to use non-monogamy, polyamory, whatever, as like, we're going to plaster over the problems in our relationship with other people. And that kind of can reduce the other people you're dating to, like, oh, you're the patch that fits in this hole, and you're the patch that fits in this hole. And the truth is, I still very much love this person. We still work great as a couple. We are still romantically very much in love. If we were monogamous, I don't know what would have happened to us. So, frankly, I can see a world where, I am just monogamous with an asexual person, assuming I'm on T blockers.
Oh, gosh. But, like, it's very much the thing that a lot of people can think about when, they're trying to decide whether or not to continue a relationship after major changes, is like, oh, would non-monogamy fix this? And the answer is usually no. Every once in a while, maybe if you go to a lot of therapy and stuff like that, non-monogamy can be a nice tool in your tool belt, but it certainly isn't a fully built house.
Non-monogamy will not be the thing that fixes your relationship. Non-monogamy will be a context in which you can work to fix your relationship, but also that's also literally true of monogamy. The tools you have access to are different in different relationship styles. This is the one that works for me.
And like having to do that intentionally, and like, honestly, I don't mean to use this word rudely, but the correct way, it takes a lot of work, and a lot of people really are, like you said, looking for that stopgap, that quick patch in their relationship, instead of realizing that, like, polyamory will make some things easier, more accessible, etc. It's also gonna add a whole boatload of complications you've never even considered.
Yeah. And, also, the people you are being non-monogamous with, they're full, actual, entire people, and they will not. If you can find someone who will consent to be like, I will be the person who replaces sex in your primary relationship, and that's all we have to be about, then, congratulations on meeting a sex worker. I hope you pay them well. But like that's
Yeah,
not you're going to be dating a whole ass person. You can't just use them as a patch. There's a lot more work that goes into that.
they're a whole ass person, not just a hole.
But
Yeah. Gotta put one of them in there. But yeah, and like, I feel like if you'd come to the decision that for whatever reason, you just finding someone else to sleep with is what your brand of non-monogamy is gonna look like, as long as you're fucking upfront about that and you're like, hey, this is what's gonna happen. This is, what I'm looking for. I will take you on dates as compensation. I will buy you cars, whatever the hell it ends up being. Because, honey, the sex with you alone is not worth it. I
nope.
promise.
Yep. And finding someone
Yeah.
who is like two people who want that with each other meeting is a very unlikely scenario.
Oh, yeah. Because, like half the time we'll just be like, oh, you're just looking to cheat on your wife. And it's like, I mean, that's a very simplistic way to put it.
My piece of this is like, you know what your boundaries are. You know what is a relationship to you. You know what is a breakup to you. There is no playbook. There is no, one thing that happens in polyamory and also kink a lot is like people want to know like the exact word for, dating two left-handed tops at the same time in different states. And it's like that, no, just the terms
I'm
don't
trying
mean
so hard to
anything
come up
on
with a
their
dumb
own.
word.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like just coming up to someone and saying I'm a transatlantic demisexual and walking away doesn't give them much of an idea of who you are. There's got to be a deeper conversation there.
Yeah, and so, it's the same with terms like partner and relationship and breakup. All of these things look slightly different to literally everyone you know. And so at the end of the day, you just kind of have to figure out what they mean for you and talk to the people in your life about that.
Oh God, talking.
I know, it's the worst. We both trying to do it for a living now. What is wrong with us?
Capitalism.
Fair.
Yeah. It's funny. Okay, so this next story is called Old Friend Freaked Out When I Said I'm Poly. And then I noticed the person's age is 25 and they call their old friend is 35. What the hell?
Maybe like old friend isn't as in so much like, person I've known for a long time. It's, old person I met at the bar.
Oh God, because I just was like, what's going on here? So yeah, the next story. Old friend freaked when I said I'm poly. I, female 25, mentioned that I am poly while hanging out with an old friend, male 35. He got totally surprised, and not in a good way. Why does it all go back to Valley Girl? He got totally surprised and not in a good way. He couldn't understand my point at all and thought it's all about sex. Couldn't understand the love connection part. I tried to explain how I see and feel it, but it seemed he wasn't really interested in learning rather than just expressing his feelings of how he thinks it's fucked up. I really feel weirded out and almost like not telling anyone about it anymore after this interaction. How do you deal with these kinds of situations? Do you share about your relationship being poly slash non-monogamous or keep it quiet? What is the best response here?
Okay, what's the over-under on he wanted to fuck her?
Yeah, I mean, like, if he thinks it's all about sex, what's he projecting?
Yeah, totally.
It sounds like projection, my guy.
To answer the question directly, it is literally nobody's business any detail of your personal life that you don't want to share with them.
Here, here.
Or if you want to put the bar a little higher, any detail of your personal life that you don't feel like joy about sharing with them. And if people are trying to like pry and force you out and get information out of you, lie through your fucking teeth.
Lies to protect your safety from these awful systems in which we live are not immoral.
And also, just to protect your peace of mind. Like, even if we lived in a world where, everything was equal and everything was great. Like,
what does it say about me that I didn't even consider peace of mind? Like, what is that foreign concept?
I think it says that you're in your late 20s in the United States of America in the year 20.
Yep. So my freaking God, one of the things that I definitely wanted to like point at here is like the why people share that stuff. Like, did he ask? Being in state that I don't know if we're going to tell people where we are. Anyway, if you can't tell from my accent, I live in a conservative place. And so you never know who's going to be cool with you doing something that is only okay for men in the Bible.
I am consistently surprised by how unsurprised I am when people like learn something new about me and decide to suck. I guess I'm fully like pushing 40 and I grew up in the deep south, so like I'm definitely used to it. And I'm used to making these decisions about like what I reveal to people and what I don't. And like I live in a very progressive area of the country now, and people still suck. I'm not telling anyone don't go out and be like, this is me, I'm proud of who I am, whatever. I'm just saying be prepared to burn a lot of bridges and or a lot of people's cars.
And you don't owe coming out to anyone. That goes for polyamory, that goes for gender, that goes for sexuality. You don't owe anyone like that level of information.
No.
Yeah. I feel like this person needs to like find more of their people. Like I don't know if they're queer, I don't know what, other circles they run in, but the more alternative your lifestyle is, the more alternative friends you get, the more comfy everything becomes.
Yeah.
Because even those friends who aren't like polyamorous are a little more like, yes, that's a thing that exists. That's cool. Have your fun.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and you can't. It is really difficult to bring people with you on this sort of thing, and that is just the unfortunate truth. You don't get to pick which ones react well. That said, it's ultimately up to you who you tell and who you don't.
Yeah. There's a comment where they talk about like that you're hiding polyamory, and like I also really don't agree with that, because you're not hiding it, you're just being smart. Like you don't have to be an open book. You don't have to trauma dump to the barista,
Yeah.
And that's not hiding.
And also, it is perfectly okay to fucking hide something for your own protection. To me, this kind of like reads a little bit of like the older, like, if you're queer, you have to be out. That was from like the 60s and 70s when bad ideas happened. Don't subscribe to philosophies that were developed by baby boomers. We know how this went.
And don't do things that could potentially get you put on a list just for the sake of pleasing the people who say you're not valid without doing those things. You are valid as you are. You don't gotta do shit to prove nothing to nobody.
Yep. To look at this from the other side, though, like let's say this was someone, that this really was an old friend, someone that the OP really trusted, and they reacted poorly. They were kind of a dick about it.
Yeah, and like we said, a lot of projection in there.
Yeah. What would we do if, in heavy quotes, someone we loved and trusted learned this kind of information about us and reacted poorly and was kind of a dick about it?
I'd put them in a separate circle in my little brain Venn diagram of who I have in what situations as a friend.
Reasonable. Full disclosure, I tend to just walk the fuck away from these people and never look back. If I'm like, I am going to bare my soul to you and show you, a deeper part of me because I trust you with it, and people are like, oh, I hate you, you suck, I have no problem just walking away forever.
I feel like this is kind of where like my desire to be some form of an educator comes into play, because I don't want to walk away from those people just because like now that they've heard the word, they're going to hear the word somewhere else. At some point they're going to have questions, and I'd rather them come to me since they know that I am this thing and get decent information rather than just charging off bull blind. If that person can do it, I can do it without, further information, further knowledge, because unless they've said something that's super inflammatory and attacking, I don't think that like just completely cutting them off is the goal. But, if they were saying a bunch of rude stuff, calling you just like a whore for being polyamorous, then yeah, maybe cut them off.
I love and respect that from you, and there's not enough money on earth.
Hey, that's fair. So at the end of the show, I would like to set a standard of giving y'all some sort of satisfaction. Be that a just a little heartwarming, cute story, or something that has an actual resolution. It may not be a great story, but it has some form of resolution, because so many of these stories have none of that. So, this week's is a story that starts with non monogamy, turns into toxicity, and ends with monogamy. I thought it normally goes the other way around, but this one's a bit of a long one, but it's drama. Let's get into the drama. Am I the asshole for sabotaging my husband's relationships? In my country, arranged marriages are very common, and this is how I, a 24 female, got married with Jason, a 24 male. Note that I said arranged marriages, not forced marriages. An arranged marriage is basically when your family plays matchmaker with you and someone else, but it isn't forced. It's important to say that I never wanted to get married, and I am for sure placed somewhere on the ace spectrum, because sex was never something important to me. But I knew Jason since we were kids, and he was always nice to me, so I accepted to spend some time with him and see where it would go. Turns out Jason and I had a lot in common. Our country is pretty religious, but neither of us saw much importance in religion and just pretended to our families to not cause problems. We're both more on the introvert side and don't like crowds or big family reunions. When I told him my feelings about sex and sexuality, he was sweet and understanding. We ended up becoming good friends, and it was kind of obvious the idea of marrying each other seemed appealing to us. So we got married 2 years ago. We made a deal to basically be best friends who are married, to not have sex, and to sleep in different rooms. He was allowed to sleep with whoever he wanted since he was not getting this from me, and everything was perfectly fine. Our families, however, have really started to pressure us to have children this last year. Since this was so important to them, we agreed to, well, try. We had our first time together, and it was great. Way better than I could ever imagine. After that, he noticed I liked it and asked if sex was in the equation of our relationship now. I said, yes. This is a few months ago, and since then, we've been having sex pretty regularly. But we also started to spend more time together outside of that. And I think my feelings of friendship for Jason are starting to change. And not only that, but I started to feel jealous of his casual relationships, especially his affair with this Anna girl, a female in her 20s, who he's been seeing regularly for the past months. I'm scared he'll start to fall in love with her because he always speaks highly of her and seems to like her. So I kind of started to sabotage his dates with her and other girls in a way. I pretended to have headaches, to feel sick or sad, or any other excuse. So he had to stay with me instead of going to see them. I know it's childish, and maybe I should just talk to him about it. But I'm so scared he doesn't feel the same, and things will get weird between us, and it's not like we can escape each other. Am I the asshole? The verdict was asshole.
As well, it
Sloane,
should
do you
been.
have any thoughts? Oh yeah, agree.
Okay.
Sorry, do you have less than 35 minutes of thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of feel like my thoughts here are like, just talk to people, like just fucking talk to people.
Yeah, it feels real vulnerable to talk to people, but it is so much better in the long run to get that vulnerability out of the way.
In my experience, anyway, when we're like sitting on a secret like this, you do so much psychic damage to yourself over so much time that like even the worst case scenario you're imagining is honestly probably better.
Don't be Psyduck. Don't injure yourself in your confusion.
Don't be a Psyduck.
Yeah. Don't be a Psyduck. That's going to be the title of this episode. Don't be a Psyduck.
It absolutely is, yes.
Yeah, so agree. Definitely, like, good for her that she finally found sex enjoyable. I personally do not have a sex drive aside from maybe once every 6 months or so, but I still enjoy sex. It took me a while to find people I enjoyed sex with, and now I'm very protective of those people,
Yeah.
So figuring out where you are on the ace spectrum is awesome. It doesn't make you any less valid of someone on the asexual spectrum to find people you enjoy sex with. Any hoozles, let's go back to the update. So the update was posted, it looks like not too terribly long after the original post, in which they were, by the way, reminded, if you couldn't catch it, they were the asshole. So, new post. OP here. The responses were very enlightening, and although some of you probably learn how to be kinder to others, not my fight to have. Anyway, I listened to your advice and talked to Jason yesterday. Woo! That's from me, not the post. It went well. It went great. really made me wonder why I thought this wasn't an option. He actually knew I was trying to sabotage his dates. Oh my goodness, his IQ must be so high for a man. Good for him. Sorry. He actually knew I was trying to sabotage his dates, but it didn't matter that much since he was thinking about stopping them anyway.
Okay,
He
but
told me, oh, go ahead.
if he knew this was happening and he kept making dates with these women, that's kind of a dick move.
Yeah, it kind of almost feels like using, I don't know what was going on exactly, but like using, because my thought, staying home with a headache, yada yada, get a massage goes somewhere.
Mhm.
It almost feels like using cucking these other girls as like a part of your foreplay
Oh yeah.
and using them for, like a fetish. You're like, oh, I want him now. He's gonna go get with her. Nope, I want him instead. I got a
Yeah, it's
headache.
also just, in like wasting these people's time and preying on their emotions when like you're not actually going on that date. Don't do that. That's a dick move.
Yeah, it's a real dick move. Unless you're Venmoing them and still buying them dinner and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I would do that. Like if somebody wants to stand me up and like Venmo me for a nice dinner, hell yeah.
I would do that so many times. I would be like, oh, we're not dating? Damn. Like, never show up for the date, please. Just buy me dinner. I will send you pictures of me eating it or my feet or whatever compensation you require. I like food.
100%.
Yeah, so okay, Jason, little toxicity there yourself, but you know what? Nobody's perfect, especially someone with the name Jason. So, la la la, stop going. Let's see. He told me he already told the women he was seeing that he wanted to stop going out with them around 2 weeks ago. I apologized anyway, but he thought it was cute and said I'm a terrible liar. I don't know why I stumbled over that one. Blah, blah, blah. I asked why he didn't talk about it either, and he said he felt I needed some time to reach the point where I would feel ready for this conversation. Okay.
Mhm.
Most important, he said he always loved me. That he accepted our early dynamic because he knew it would be hard for me to find someone who would understand and respect my relationship with sex in our culture. And he's right. I don't think people even know what an asexual or demisexual person is here. And I think people would mostly see it as some sort of mental illness or deviation.
You feel
So
that.
he wanted, so he wanted to at least be able to give me protection and companionship on my own terms. Okay, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. He was over the moon that I am in love with him too, but he assured me that it would also be fine for him if it never happened, and I believe him. I also showed him this post, and he found it funny that I was able to open up to a bunch of strangers before talking to him. It was a little embarrassing, but I wanted to be completely honest with him. Also, answering the people who asked if we wanted to have children or if we were only doing this because of our family pressure. We talked about it, and before starting to have a sexual relationship, decided yes, we want to have children. Now that everything is out in the open, we are even more excited for that. Thank you for your advice anyway. Some of you were harsh, but I needed a wake-up call, I guess. I love when an OP like admits they needed a wake-up call.
Yeah, like honestly, it's hard not to get defensive when the entire internet agrees you're being kind of a jerk. So like, props.
Yeah, like leaving your mistake up to and not dirty deleting it is also always a fan of that. Also, I
Yeah.
kind of like, as much as I don't like that this guy was still asking people out on dates, I kind of wish that I kind of hope that like behind the scenes he was saying he had a date but didn't actually have a date, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
That
knowing what she's doing.
yeah. That look, that is a kind of manipulation I can get behind.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I'm gonna
that
go see Renee tonight.
yeah. That's just foreplay.
Doesn't even put shoes on. Uh yeah, but like good for him giving her the chance to figure it out herself because when people put words in our mouth, even if those words kind of feel like the right shape, we don't need to apply them to us right away. We can still like think on them, decide whether or not these labels apply to us, what we actually feel, because it's so easy when you're in a relationship, especially multiple relationships, to take people's opinions of you and internalize them until they distort your own sense of self.
Yeah, definitely. Like there very much is a gender thing here.
Mhm.
I do not know a single cis woman who has ever wanted a cis man to be like, I know more about you than you do. That's
I
not
would tell
real.
him he's wrong even if he's right.
100%. Um, honestly, like the story is fucking adorable. It's so cute. please, 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 never do what this dude did. The whole, like, I started a relationship with you and was just waiting for you to come around thing. Like, whew, that's a bad bet. That is a bad bet. It worked out this once. That is not a pattern.
Yeah, but he did say that, it'd be fine for him if it never happened.
And
so,
that is
like,
a lie.
aw, you
I'm
think it's a
sure.
lie? I'm too hopeful.
Okay, I don't think it's a lie. I'm sure he was very sincere about it at the time, but he's 24 and life is long.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm sure harboring a hope that it'll eventually happen. Yeah, don't ever date a person who identifies as ace, hoping it'll eventually happen, hoping you can eventually seduce them.
Yeah.
It's not fair to either of you.
Yeah, seriously. I'm super glad it worked out. These people seem great and cute, and I'm super happy for them. Gold star being adorable on the internet award to both of them. Please don't do that.
Okay, so before we end the show, we would like to wrap things up with a nice little survival tip. Give everybody a sense of, what lessons they can take away from this episode or just from you as a person. It doesn't have to be anything we talked about. It can just be your own personal feelings. This is your soapbox. Over to you.
Oh no. Oh, no. You know what you're doing. You know this is
I
a bad
do.
idea.
No, it's a great idea. I told you, even if you're too hateful, views.
Okay, going back to a lot of what we talked about in the episode, I feel like my number one survival tip for people going into polyamory is guard your fucking boundaries. Like, I love my partners, and I like most of my metas. They're cool, they're chill. But if I let all of my partners and all of my metas drag me out to all of the kitchen table stuff they want to do, I would choose death. Unfortunately, I have to be the one who protects my own boundaries. That includes saying, like, hey, that sounds like a really fun thing. I hope you enjoy it. Full disclosure, I went to the Renaissance Fair this weekend. It ruled. One of my partners was also going to the Renaissance Fair with a huge group of excitable queer people in their early 30s. And they were like, oh, do you want to, reschedule and come a day later so you can be with all of us? And I said no, because why would I do that? That sounds like a lot. They had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I got a lot of cute pictures. It was great. And I had a chill time with my nesting partner.
I think organizing a polycule to go to the Renaissance Fair needs to be its own episode, because that is there is a layer of pancakes in which there's polyamorous people and rennies.
Oh, yeah. Any niche nerd interest, we're there. You might not see us, but we are there.
Yeah, if you want to find some polyamorous people or some people who are at least open to the concept, go join a D&D club. Go find some reenactors. Go
play some Magic the Gathering, or if you're trans, Warhammer.
Yeah. Speaking of Renaissance Fair, one of my little things is I do not want to share a vehicle with most people when I'm going to the Renaissance Fair, because I would like to be in charge of when I leave.
I think the whole thing here is know your boundaries and be able to enforce them on your own, because as much as we love it when our partner stands up for us, they aren't always going to do that. They aren't always going to know that they should do that, or sometimes their interests are just going to run counter to yours.
And that's okay. All right, my little survival tip for the night is don't be a Psyduck. Have the conversations before you damage yourself in your confusion, because all of the stories that you're telling yourself are just stories. Even if you are right, like the person in the first story or whatever story, where their partner did end up having an allergic reaction, you are going to be right so many times, and you are going to be wrong so many times. The best thing to do is talk to the people involved.
I feel like that just needs to be a thing, because that phrase is going to cover so much shit.
Yeah. Fuck yes. This was such a good record. Thank you for helping me get over the hump of a first record in this format. Those of you that may not know, Sloane and I have been working very hard for a very long time on our favorite little horny podcast of D&D, Swipe Right for Dragons. It is a labor of love. And this
Emphasis
is completely different. I can't express how excited I am to be going on this journey with all of you. Sloane, you don't want people to find you, right? You don't have anywhere to plug? Yeah.
Nope.
No.
I have
Swipe
no
right
socials.
for dragons.
Swipe Right for Dragons. That is the only place on the internet you can find me, unless you stumble on my dating profile, and then I will lie about who it is.
If you see her on dating sites, no, you didn't.
Absolutely not.
We hope to see you back for the next episode. We will be releasing episodes every odd Wednesday until we figure out this whole podcasting thing. In the meantime, check out our Beacons page, beacons.ai/metamorpod. You'll be able to follow us at metamorpod on various social medias. Subscribe, drop us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting platforms, and make it funny for a chance to be featured on an upcoming episode. Meta More Than You Bargained For is a production of Roll to Finish LLC. I have been your host, Lynn Lawless. Our producer, editor, and all-around badass is Sloane Abbott, and our audio engineer is Kel Fernandez. Get the fuck out of here. Have a great day.